Senegalese President.
Hello, I'm Vincent McCory in for #TakeItTheU. It's Thursday, May 26th. This is Africa 54.
Gun control debate in the U.S. But what are the chances of politicians passing significant changes? And the Basketball Africa League finals are set for Saturday, following an exciting semi-final round in Kigali.
We begin in Senegal, where President Macky Sall says 11 newborn babies are dead following a hospital fire. VOA's Paul Ndiho has the details.
Residents in the city of TV1 and across Senegal are mourning the death of 11 newborn babies who died in a hospital fire. President Macky Sall announced on Twitter that 11 infants had been killed in a blaze just before midnight in a tweet, without giving further details about the fire. Quote, "I've just learned with pain and consternation the death of 11 newborn babies in the fire that occurred in the neonatology department of the Mama Aboud Aziz Sey Dabaka Hospital in Taviwan. To their mothers and their families, I express my deepest sympathy." Unquote. The normally quiet town woke up on Thursday morning with terrifying news. There had been a fire at the hospital where their babies were being cared for. 2 women rushed to the hospital together and were allowed in only to find that their babies were among the victims. Meanwhile, other mothers waited anxiously outside.
My granddaughter is here. She's been here for 2 weeks. I came here to see if she was in the accident.
A few minutes later, these women emerged out in tears. Their babies were among the dead. Both women embraced, weeping until one of them was driven home, grief.
I've known since last night about the fire, but I didn't tell my daughter. I told her when she woke up, and we came here.
TV1, located about 120 kilometers east of Dakar, is a busy road transit hub and holy city that regularly attracts large numbers of Muslim pilgrims from across the West African country. Health Minister Abdoulaye Diouf Sarr told private Senegalese television station TFM that preliminary investigations suggested a short circuit had caused the fire. However, authorities provided no further details about how the disaster unfolded. Public health experts have repeatedly warned that many underfunded, understaffed hospitals are stretched beyond their capacities by the COVID pandemic and leaving them unable to maintain acceptable safety standards. The tragedy in TV1 comes after several other incidents at Senegalese hospitals angered the nation. In April, a woman died in labor along with her unborn baby after hospital staff refused to perform a cesarean section. Last year, 4 new babies were killed by fire at a hospital in the northern town of Langari, causing a national outcry. Paul Ndiho, VOA News.
As families in the U.S. state of Texas mourn the loss of their children, U.S. lawmakers are expected to vote Thursday to impose stricter background checks on gun sales after the second worst school shooting in America's history on Tuesday. As VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine Gibson reports, the killings reignited the national gun control debate, but the chances of politicians passing significant changes are slim.
19 children and 2 adults dead in a mass shooting at an elementary school in Texas Tuesday. Killings that have reopened the nation's debate over regulating guns. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott confronted by his Democratic opponent, Beto O'Rourke, who alleged his loosening of gun laws led to the tragedy.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line.
The governor said the 18-year-old gunman, Salvador Ramos, did not show any warning signs until just before the shooting. And Abbott called for greater support for mental health services instead of stricter gun laws.
I hate to say this, but there are more people who were shot every weekend in Chicago than there are in schools in Texas. And we need to realize that people who think that, well, maybe if we could just implement tougher gun laws, it's going to solve it. Chicago and LA and New York disproved that thesis.
U.S. President Joe Biden called on the narrowly Democratic-controlled Congress to pass new regulations.
When in God's name will we do what needs to be done to, if not completely stop, fundamentally change the amount of the carnage that goes on in this country?
Democrats said they wanted to move quickly to pass new regulations.
America's gun epidemic is unmatched by any of our peer nations in the world. No American is safe from it, and the American people are sick and tired of it.
But noted such efforts had been stopped in the past.
This is a gun industry talking point. The gun industry wants to stop any discussion about changing the laws after these mass shootings, because they know that that's the moment when the public is demanding policy change.
While Republicans acknowledge the scope of the tragedy,
it's literally sickening to consider the innocent young lives that were stolen by this pointless, senseless brutality.
They cautioned against limiting Americans' constitutional right to bear arms. Protests have consistently failed to move Congress to pass new regulations every time there is a mass shooting.
The assumption is that if any policy that advocates for any kind of reform is a prelude to confiscation, right, and to sort of a sweeping reform in the sort of model of New Zealand. That's not what's being proposed. There are lots of legislative measures that have been proposed that would create some obstacles for people who are trying to commit these kinds of acts, right?
According to 2021 Pew Research Center polling, half of Americans see gun violence as a very big problem. And a broad number of both Democrats and Republicans favor background checks on private and gun show sales. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Capitol Hill.
Well, the U.S. teenage gunman who killed at least 19 children and 2 adults warned in a private message on a social network shortly ahead of time that he was about to shoot up an elementary school, according to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. For more on the latest school shootings and the U.S. gun debate, VOA Scott Stern joins us live via Skype from Uvalde, Texas. Hello, Scott.
Afternoon, Vincent.
Yes. Now, do we know anything more about the gunman?
We understand that the gunman purchased these 2 AR-15 assault weapons 2 days apart earlier this month. But notable for the setup piece that Catherine did, with the exception of the social media posting that he did that day, it appears that from what we know now, he would have passed a criminal background check and would have been able to purchase these assault weapons. So the legislation proposed in Congress now would not have prevented this shooting.
Now, you're on your way to the National Rifle Association convention in Houston, Texas. It's less than 450 kilometers from the elementary school shooting in Uvalde. How is the shooting likely rather to impact that debate on, the guns and that particular event?
I imagine that speakers, because of that we're in Texas, and that we're in the same week, I imagine that speakers at the NRA convention will mention the shooting, likely in some of the same ways that you heard Senator Mitch McConnell or Governor Abbott decrying the loss of life and calling for prayers for those who are suffering. But for people, for National Rifle Association members, there really is no question about the gun debate. Americans enjoy the constitutional provision to be part of an organized militia, which has been used in jurisprudence to protect the rights of Americans to own guns. It's notable that on this background check, this passed the House last year. The Senate could have taken up this legislation any time in the last year. They have not. perhaps now with the public focus from these shootings on Uvalde, they're hoping to maybe pull some Republican votes, or because gun control is a political issue, they may be looking to put their Republican colleagues on the record voting against this measure. We are only months away from a midterm election in which it looks like the Republican Party will do well.
Well, Scott, thank you very much. That's VOA Scott Stearns reporting live via Skype from Uvalde, Texas. Now, for more perspective on why Americans seem to have a hard time reaching a consensus on the best way to deal with mass shootings, Sylvester Okere, an analyst, joins me live via Skype from Greenbelt, Maryland. Now, welcome, Sylvester.
Thank you so much.
You may have listened to some of our conversation earlier. It looks like every time there's a mass shooting, the gun debate comes on again. And the question is, for most of our viewers in Africa, why is this so much of a political debate rather than a consideration of keeping children and other people safe?
And this is exactly, first of all, my heart goes to the family, and I pray to God to console them. No amount of prayer and talking will really solve that aspect. And that is what the nation and the president need to focus on. But unfortunately, our politicians, these are an opportunity for blame game, finger pointing whenever this kind of thing happens. I remember the time of Obama, over 20 mass shootings. And I know it happens all the time, but it has always been the same rat race game, a one opportunity to blame one another. But gun control is good, but we're not thinking about how to control the amount of drugs that are coming in and the amount of criminals that are coming in that are going to be making use of the gun. No matter how we control the gun, look at Britain. They don't use gun, but they use knives. So we need to know that it's not just the gun control that is the problem. I ask myself the question, can we, nobody on earth will say because there are too many accidents on the road and we ban the production of cars. So it's not the car that is causing the problem, it's somebody's judgment and so on. I need to say that this is a mental issue. I think the people that are mental people are the politicians that are crafting dangerous and stupid policies, not thinking about children and women.
Most people that I talk to, especially outside this country, not necessarily question the whole principle of owning guns, but it's the type of guns that people can have access to, very powerful automatic machines. And that many ask, is it necessary for Americans to possess all this and to have very easy access to them?
But the problem is the law itself, and the problem is the gun itself. A lot of people have it and they're not using it that way. But the kind of video games where this individual, where did he land it? Where did he get the training? He's doing it at home, possibly. Some of those things coming from Hollywood, we need to control them. We need to, put an eye on them and have some policies, and not only focusing on an object. Gun, I don't care the size. I don't support it. I do carry. But the point is, only silly person will use gun to kill somebody. But the problem is coming from the kind of policies that these politicians are having and what Hollywood is throwing out to our children.
It looks like there are too many problems that need to be solved. But people say, how about discussing all the options? The gun control in terms of limiting the type of guns people can get, but also addressing the mental issues and other social problems that may lead people to commit such crimes.
But I don't think the politicians want to go that route, because this is always a good opportunity for them when it comes to election and the run around on that. And it's so sad what the children have been facing in this administration, during this Biden administration. What has it really done to protect our children, other than exposing them on transgenderism and drugs? Look at the amount of drugs coming through the border. So all those policies are what contributed to this. This young man, okay, he doesn't have mental history according to the story I'm hearing and so on. So what is his own problem?
Well,
his drug.
Well, there's a lot of discussion out there, and many say the problems are a compound in terms of the nature, and so it's not all about drugs and mental health, but including guns, and that is, I think, debatable. Thank you very much, Sylvester, for that analysis. Sylvester Kerry, an analyst based in the U.S. state of Maryland.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the Gambian government says it accepted a recommendation by Truth and Reconciliation Commission that exiled former President Yahya Jammeh be prosecuted for killings and other suspected crimes from his time in office. Attorney General Danja Jallow said Wednesday the special prosecutor would oversee cases of abuses found from Jammeh's 1994 to 2017 rule, which were laid out in the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission's report last year. And the independent commission says Jammeh and his men were responsible for 44 specific crimes against journalists, former soldiers, political opponents and civilians, including killings and rapes. Down to the southern part of the continent, Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema has asked Parliament to consider removing the death penalty from its laws. No executions have taken place in Zambia since the late 90s. Amnesty International says last year there was an increase in the number of executions and death sentences in Africa, with South Sudan and Somalia leading the trend. The rights watchdog is calling for a moratorium on executions and is urging countries that still allow the death penalty to abolish it. Now, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Join Africa 54 on Friday when Heather Maxwell screens Ghanaian musician Karanya Hot, a new video still to come. The latest Basketball African League highlights. Stay with us. Well, flood victims in South Africa's port city of Durban had yet to recover from last month's historic rain when another storm hit last weekend. The victims and experts say it is a signal that better urban planning is needed to protect residents and their livelihoods from future extreme weather. Linda Giftush reports from Durban.
It has been over a month since historic floods in South Africa's eastern province of KwaZulu-Natal made nearly 7,000 people homeless. But their numbers are growing as heavy rains and repeat floods hit the port city of Durban last weekend, destroying more homes and damaging this temporary shelter.
It's not getting better, it's getting worse. So if it happens for the rain to come back again, so that means we won't have a shelter to accommodate other people because the halls right now, it's overloaded.
KwaZulu-Natal officials say at least 250 people were evacuated from shelters. South African federal authorities earmarked $63 million for cleanup and rebuilding, while funds are also coming from various levels of government and aid groups. But victims say they haven't been told when they will get to move to longer-term housing.
We don't have another space. If we do, we will try by all means to escape to that place directly. We will not gonna go to a hall whereby you will sleep with many people. As far as we are here, because we don't have a choice, we don't have another places.
Experts are calling South Africa's severe weather damage a wake-up call for better disaster management in the face of climate change.
It shows us that we are definitely not prepared for even worse storms than what we see now.
And to be clear, what climate change will do is it will shift these systems even more. So we need to be prepared for seeing what we saw on a more regular basis. So more often we will see these types of flooding.
But experts say rebuilding from damage like South Africa's flooding is also an opportunity to safeguard from future extreme weather. The advice includes keeping homes and infrastructure out of floodplains, developing more precise early warning systems, and having clear evacuation plans.
We need to think about restoring ecological infrastructure. So upstream, ensuring that we manage our basins, our water basins adequately and rightly enough so that we actually mitigate flooding. We also need to think about the vulnerabilities within communities. So things like addressing poverty, the systemic drivers of why people are locating on these high-risk spaces.
Many of the South African flooding victims lived in informal settlements on city outskirts with poor infrastructure. They say more public housing inside the cities would be safer, offer better access to services, and help prevent more people from ending up homeless. Linda Giftash for VOA News, Durban, South Africa.
Well, the Basketball Africa League finals for Season 2 are set for Saturday. Viewers Jackson Funganyi has the semi-finals highlights.
Petros Dandao stole the ball from Bidias of FAP and passed it to Marias, who made a three-pointer. Gaku received a pass from Goncalves and drove in for a basket that gave Petro a 10-point lead late in the first quarter.
Oh, it's a sumptuous score.
Pedro scored for Petro off a pass from Domingos.
He's been teed up. Look at that. He does so well, doesn't he?
Dandao scored again for Petro to keep them ahead and returned again with a three-pointer from the top of the key to give the Angolans a 10-point lead. FAP tried to close the margin with a layup by Kemfak after a pass from Esome.
There it is, lovely. And
FAP registered 2 more points with a dunk by Wendemne after picking up a loose ball, but time was running out.
Right place, right time, takes the points.
Pedro closed the deal for Petro with a dunk after a nifty pass from Domingos.
Big score from that man, Pedro.
Petro de Luanda will face US Monastir in the championship game on Saturday. Tunisia had the lead early as Coles Jr. got close to the basket in the first quarter for 2 points. Egypt's Sosa gets it to Mahmoud, who goes for 2 and loses the ball but gets it back and scores. But then in the second quarter, Zamalek takes the lead as Makini goes up for 2 and extends their lead to 8. Monastir's Manawi hits a 3 to try and get his team back up, cutting Zamalek's lead to 5. Up by just 2 with under a minute to go in the first half, Zamalek's Makini scores and gets fouled on the play.
Oh, that is a big call, isn't it? That's a big play, that is, from Makini.
Monastir's Dixon passes to Coles Jr., who finds Slimane for 3. A big shot to get Tunisia just down by 4.
Doing the damage. It's a beautiful score, it really is.
Under 7 minutes to go in the third quarter and just 1 point difference in score. Tunisia's Mahemli passes to Dixon, who scores and gets them to lead. Under 3 minutes to go and Zamalek struggles down by 11 when Sosa goes for 3 but misses, and the ball is picked up by Monastir's Coles Jr., who finds Leyani for a successful alley hoop. Egypt continues to do whatever they can as Sosa goes for a 3 again and misses, but tries again and scores, but it's not enough. Tunisia wins the game by 7 points, placing them in the championship for a second try to win it all.
Well, as you already had, Angola's Petro de Luanda is set to face Tunisia's Monastir in the Basketball Africa League Season 2 championship game on Saturday. Joining us live from Kigali, Rwanda's viewer is Sunny Young. Hello, Sunny. And first, give us a sunny side take on Wednesday's semifinals.
Well, sporty greetings from Kigali, Vincent. The Tunisian club Monastir and the Angolan club Petro de Luanda, they each scored 88 points on Wednesday, and as a result of those 88 points, they're through to Saturday's final at the Kigali Arena. Petro de Luanda defeated FAP from Cameroon 88-74, and the Tunisian club Monastir dethroned Zamalek of Egypt 88-81. The big man for Monastir, Slimane, voted MVP with 21 points. And for Petro, it was Dundao. I heard Jackson Vunganyi mention his name. Dundao had 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, and he was the most valuable player in Petro's victory. So it's Petro versus Monastir for the title on Saturday.
And 88 was the number there. I understand, Sonny, and some legends of African basketball awards were handed out at the arena, and you had a chance to talk with one of those legends. Tell us more.
Well, Vincent, during the Monastir-Zamalek semifinal, there was a break in the action, and they honored some of the legends of African basketball. And one of those legends is Luol Deng, born in South Sudan. And I had a chance to chat with him as he walked off the court. He talked about his role as South Sudan's Basketball Federation president. And he also talked about the growth of the Basketball Africa League. He's very positive about that. And simply receiving such an honor on African soil. And I have to say, Vincent, Luol Deng is one of the good guys in African basketball and a good friend of the Voice of America. I think we've interviewed him at least 3 or 4 times at our VOA headquarters in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I remember taking a picture with him also here in the building, Sonny. Now, what does the remaining basketball schedule look like this week as we end it in Kigali?
Well, Vincent, on Friday, we'll have the 3rd place match in the Men's Basketball Africa League. That will feature Zamalek going up against FAP. It begins at 1600 UTC. And on Saturday, at that same 1600 UTC time, we'll have the final between Petro de Luanda and Monastir. So there will be a new Basketball Africa League champion, Vincent, here in Kigali after Saturday's game.
A very quick one before we go, Sonny. How has it been for you covering that event, that game in Kigali?
I think the atmosphere at the Kigali Arena, Vincent, has been wonderful, exciting, vibrant, lots of music, and we're getting a mixture of Rwandan fans, as well as yesterday, as Eddie Rwema and I left the arena, there were Tunisian fans celebrating their victory and yelling as they drove away from the arena. So, yeah, I think the atmosphere is very good here in Kigali.
I'm happy that you're there. Always great talking to you, Sonny. Thank you very much. That's viewer Sonny Young reporting live from Kigali, Rwanda. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.